This is an overview of genetics for Biology 30. So basically we're looking at the idea, what is genetics? And genetics is a field in which every year large numbers of significant findings are made, and over the past 5 decades no 5-year period has passed without the establishment of one or more major research frontiers in genetics. Basically, if we were to define genetics, it's a branch of biology that deals with the heredity of an organism. So it's why you look the way you do, why you look similar to your brothers and sisters, what makes you you, and how did you get that information. Basically, genetics is a science which surrounds us every day, determines our lives from everything from the plants that we eat, the grass that grows, to the people that you see next to you. So if you take a look at the person next to you, you should be able to see whether they have attached earlobes, a widow's peak hairline, or a straight hairline. Do they have the ability to roll their tongue or not roll their tongue? Everyone is unique. The color of their eyes, the color of their hair, the skin type, all because of their genetics. Now, it's not known exactly when people first recognized the existence of heredity. However, archaeologists have discovered evidence of primitive art, preserved bones, skulls, and dried seeds, which suggests that animals were domesticated and plants were cultivated thousands of years ago. So, the science of genetics has begun thousands of years ago when we recognized that crossing one type of plant with another produced a stronger, healthier plant. Now, in the selection of animals, it was first recognized between 8,000 and 10,000 BC in horses, camels, oxen, and various breeds of dog. Dog, for example, are derived from the wolf family, and they were domesticated to serve various roles. Now, here's an example of the original wolf and the gray wolf descending into a few examples of different types of dogs that we've seen. They believe that domestication likely happened in China about 15,000 years ago. Other examples include Arabian horses, for example, that are a well-known distinctive breed, and this breed was developed in the deserts of the Middle East by the nomadic tribes that lived there. Essentially, the desert bred eventually the desert bred developed into 4 different strains, and you could see examples of Arabian horses that are of a Polish, Spanish, Egyptian, or Russian. Now, for example, if you look at an Egyptian horse, what you would see is a dish in the nose, so this part will be showing in a different way. Many horse breeders, for example, keep very detailed pedigrees which show the ancestors of that animal that they own. So here's an example of a pedigree that I've pulled off the internet. You would have the original, or the horse that you're looking at the pedigree for right here. This is who they belong to, and then you have the mother and the father of the horse, and going back through, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 generations back. Now, depending on the type of horses, for example, in Arabians, you can have a type of horse that you can track back all the way to desert bred, to the nomadic tribes of Arabia. Basically, a pedigree is similar to a family tree. So if you know or have made a family tree in the past, that's essentially a pedigree. And in Roman times, they grafted plants and bred animals to obtain desired traits or characteristics. Eventually, Charles Darwin and Gregor Mendel began to develop the theories of genetics, which is where we'll start our study of genetics. So a quick overview of why genetics is important to society. So you can either pause this little video right now and brainstorm some ideas, or take a look at the ones that we have here. Genetics is very important to agriculture. For example, genetically engineered plants, so think genetically modified canola, or if you hear the word GMOs, you're talking about genetically engineered plants. Wheat has been engineered to be resistant to rust. You could talk about tomatoes being engineered to be more frost resistant. Livestock genetics is also important to livestock. So we have different breeds. Think of the different types of cattle. You could have Charolais, you could have Hereford, you could have polled versus horned cattle. The beef that we have is made leaner. Think about the muscle mass on the beef that we have now compared to 200 years ago or even 100 years ago. Medicine, for example, is very connected to genetics, and for example, we're attempting to find the cancer-causing gene, and we're trying to diagnose a disease and looking at gene therapy and genetic screening. So, for example, some diseases that can be passed on genetically, you can go through and do a family tree before you and your partner decide to have a child, or you could go for genetic testing and find out if you carry the trait or not. Then they could make a prediction based on the pedigree of both sides of the family, what the chances of that offspring having that trait would be. So we'll end with that section there, and that's our first basic introduction to genetics. Thanks for watching.